you have to be a healthy individual yourself in order to engage and to even be able to create a healthy relationship and a healthy environment. And it takes two. It's not the responsibility and ownership on one person. And to me, that's the 50-50.
Make sure to subscribe and like our podcast.
And I mean, like I said, I get it that when you take two different people from different backgrounds, some form of attraction that occurs between these two different parties that make them say, okay, let's see if we can come together in a shared space, right? Yes. We recognize that there's no ownership here, right? I don't own you, you don't own me, yes. Right? There's this courting process where we're learning about each other. One of the unfortunate things, I remember, the tea master, one of the lessons that he taught us, he said, when you meet someone and the day you meet them, and then you might have a pleasant interaction and you're like, man, that's a really good person, man. I just met a good person, because he was teaching us about good and evil. And you're like, yeah, that's a good person. He said, no, you just met them on their good day. Write that down, write that down!
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
They just showed you their good side.
Yes.
When you met them, right? They tell you all the sweet nothings.
Yeah.
They say all the right things, and they appeal to, one aspect. Yes. Right? They showed you all the good stuff up front. So I'm like, wow, yeah, you're right about that. Wow. Right? And in the courting process, that happens, right? See something, an object, subject of your attraction, and you're like, okay, well, let me close with and see, how this interaction can go, right?
Yes.
Depending on what my intended, outcome and desire, is. And you show all the good and all the positives and all of that, right? With the intention of hoping that it will go somewhere, right? To another level. All the while, keeping certain aspects of yourself hidden and concealed, because, that, man, I let this out. It's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember in past relationships, and, I remember, I had a conversation with someone, and I was once in a relationship where I was like, you took away my choice, right? You took away my choice by not revealing certain things. You got to recognize that,
Wow.
And that doesn't mean that I wouldn't have chosen you, but, but that's my choice, right? And you took that option away from me until we get to a certain point down the road. I'm obligated, right? That person recognizing that, if this side of you and these aspects of you were, up front, potential deal breakers, right?
Yeah.
Potential deal breakers,
Wow.
And that's why for me, that's why I got the concept of, through those experiences of whenever I engage, in the past, if I engage with someone, okay, this is, of my desire, in pursuit of, I got to make sure that I'm going to the table, I'm going to that interaction and that encounter as a healthy individual.
Wow.
If there's things that, aspects of me that still, hasn't, isn't nursed back to full life, or to full health, then I reveal those things, right? Given my medical history of, hey, I'm still, transitioning through this, right? I'm still getting over this, right? I'm just getting over the flu, so there still might be some remnants. You might still see some runny nose and, some cough, but doctor said I'm good to go, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. And, metaphorically speaking, of course. So I do believe that, you have to be a healthy individual yourself in order to engage and to even be able to create a healthy relationship and a healthy environment. And it takes two. It's not the responsibility and ownership on one person. And to me, that's the 50-50, right? I don't think the 50-50 is, you got to make as much money as me and I do this, so you need to do this. And, those situations are dictate. Like I can cook, so if it's a day that you just don't feel like cooking, no problem. I can take care of that.
Yeah.
Like like that's easy, man. All the men in my family cook, so that's easy, very well. So like that's not a that's not a like deal breaker where you gotta no. So it's more so I'm responsible for me, for Saya. So I'm having the expectation that you are also responsible for you. You're responsible for your happiness.
Yes.
You're responsible for your overall like mental health. You're responsible, and if you need assistance, right, support, guidance, like that, your responsibility is to recognize, hey, I need assistance, and ask.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like and then you're responsible for your emotional control.
Yes.
Right. You're responsible for your responses. Right. Because these are all individual choices.
Yeah.
Right. Like I cannot go inside of you and and make you feel a certain way or make you respond a certain way or make that's why I said there's no control. The idea of control in a relationship is like, it's false, right? Like, so when the individual, that's the 50-50, like I'm bringing health to the table. And if I'm not healthy, then I remove myself, get healthy, and come back and re-engage, right? Like, and if the goal of each individual party is to cultivate a healthy environment between the two, then I can recognize, or you can recognize, the party can recognize when the other party is not right. Like, then say, okay, I'll support you, right? What do you need, right? In order to you need some chicken soup? Okay, no problem, right? But you got to be able to articulate that and said, I need, health in this department.
Yeah.
And for every symptom, right, and there's a solution for that. Every symptom you have, there's a solution for it. It's just whether or not you have the courage to say, okay, I'm ready to, I'm ready to nurse this back to health. Even literally, some people are like battling, certain, like you ever hear someone that needs surgery and they're like, yeah, man, I've been putting it off for years. Like, really? Man,
you'll get it out right now.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so even in a literal sense, there's people out there knowing that, hey, they need to go see the doctor. They just need to go get this thing taken care of.
Yes.
And they still put it off for whatever reason, right? Like, nah, I'm not ready to deal with that yet. Yeah. Okay, well, you're not full health. So just make sure that if you plan on engaging with someone, that you have full disclosure and say, hey,
let them know.
Yeah, and then let it be their choice whether, okay, is this something that I'm prepared to deal with and live with, knowing the possible and potential repercussions that can come from dealing with someone that's not fully healthy, or and they're like, nope, I'm good with that. I'm in it. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Okay, but that might be deal breakers for some, and you have to be wise enough and use intellectual, again, going back to using intellectual honesty or using intelligence applied to a situation. Because when it comes to, let's move the conversation into love. When it comes to love, you and I both have already talked about, like, you can learn to love anybody.
Yeah.
Anything. People love dogs. People love their cars.
Anything.
People love their pet turtles, man. Like,
yeah.
You can, what I mean? And the turtle, Bingo dies. Like, oh, poor Bingo, and have a funeral for a turtle. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that you can learn to love just about anyone or anything. So it's again, it goes back to that choice again.
Yeah. Make sure to subscribe and like our podcast.